The anime begins with a boy named Yuuji, who is an explorer from the village of Faston. Because he is classified as a monster tamer, most people assume he is weak and is often overlooked, but he is a very powerful sorcerer known as Sage. 10,000 monsters attack the village and Yuuji assists the other adventurers in defending it. Yuuji can protect the village with a barrier and destroy the monsters with dragon's fire by feeding a dragon bone to one of his slimes, while tracking the monsters with his multiple tamed slimes, as well as his wolf monster, Proud Wolf, and forest spirit, Dryad. His other slimes apprehend the culprit, a member of the Blue Moon of Salvation cult. The cultist, on the other hand, commits suicide after being apprehended, leaving behind a magical lantern that he used to control the monsters. Yuuji passes out as a result of using too much magic. Yuuji recalls a previous life as a salaryman in Japan, so he flees the partying adventurers before they can thank or reward him or draw too much attention to him. Yuuji visits Kilia's adventurer guild and is invited to form a party with the knife wielders Rhodus, Archer Tina, and spear wielder Lisa due to his tracking abilities. They take a job tracking a rock dragon. That night as they sleep, Yuuji dreams of falling asleep as a salaryman, but waking up in the world of a game he was playing as a novice tamer. Despite his confusion, he tamed several slimes and immediately discovered the disused sorcerer. He found that as the slimes read the sorcerer's books collection, he instantly gained all the skills and knowledge from the books, and within minutes gained the title of Sage. Awakening, he finds Rhodus is missing. Following Rhodus to a bandit camp, they discover he is a bandit who lures and kidnaps adventurers to sell them into slavery. Yuuji turns the bandits' camp into solid ice, and the girls realize one of them is Gelios, an infamous bandit and cult member with a large price on his head. Yuuji realizes the Blue Moon cult was behind the Faston attack and appears concerned about a cryptic prediction Gelios made about a future disaster. Yuuji, Tina, and Lisa continue to pursue the rock dragon. As predicted by the cultist prophecy, the moon and sky turn blue, and a blue dragon appears, forcing them to seek refuge in the nearby Delight Canyon. The rock dragon appears and prevents Yuuji, Tina, and Lisa from proceeding. Yuuji uses the slimes to cast a powerful fire spell on the earth dragon, causing only its skeleton to remain. The guild pays them 14 million gold for the dragon skull and the bounty on Gelios. Yuuji is coerced into attending a meeting with guild chief Rayard and Grand Cathedral representative Father Stale. According to Stale, in church legend, a dragon appeared and destroyed a continent before being defeated by a divine emissary who rivaled God's power. 30 years ago, the church performed a summoning ceremony to cause the emissary to appear 1 week before the dragon, but the emissary never came. Even without the emissary, Rayard orders the guild to attack the dragon at first light. In private, Stale reveals a holy vision that directed himself to gift Yuuji a church relic, the Dagger of Kethis, which can focus magic power. That night, as his slimes report that the blue dragon continues to grow larger, Yuuji fears many adventurers will die and come to a decision. Yuuji and his slimes launch an assault on the dragon. Yuuji is able to avoid the dragon's attack by using protective barrier magic and stabs it in the neck with his fire magic concentrated in the Dagger of Kethis, causing the dragon to explode instantly. Stale flees after the dragon is mysteriously defeated, but Rayard suspects Yuuji. Yuuji, having attracted too much attention yet again, departs from Ricardo, which Tina and Lisa describe as a completely ordinary place. Dryad informs Yuuji that dead dragons contain dragon grace, which has sprouted mushrooms around the corpse and can be used to make potions. Red to increase the sage skills and blue to restore depleted magic. Yuuji recalls first meeting Dryad, crying after an unknown person drained her forest magic with a crystal. So he saved her with a magic transfusion before destroying the crystal, restoring her forest. Yuuji comes across the village of Messiahs, which is shrouded in fog. The villagers are suspicious of his presence, but they let him go after he assures them that he was simply lost. The villagers contact an unknown person as he leaves to reassure him that their plan to retrieve the dragon grace is unaffected. Entering Ricardo, Yuuji learns the snow is unusual and none of the villagers were prepared for it. As such, the firewood has already been used up. Disappointed, he can't try Ricardo's famous cuisine without cooking fires. Yuuji figures out how to use his slimes to dry out freshly chopped trees to make perfect firewood. The town chef, grateful for the wood, cooks Yuuji one of his finest dishes in gratitude. Yuuji joins the local foresters and surprises them by procuring enough wood for the entire town to last several weeks. Although the rest of Ricardo is still short on wood, Yuuji is served another meal, but the chef reveals that it is not his best because the fields where the town grows its famous herbs are plagued by monsters that eat them. Proud Wolf and the slimes assist in locating and defeating the boar-type monsters. They also discover a crystal orb, which is dragon grace, refined into a cursed crystal that is absorbing all of the magic in the area and causing the snow. Yuuji follows another crystal set in a circular pattern to the pattern center, and despite Dryad's displeasure, destroys the forest around the center, revealing an old house with a trapdoor leading underground. Yuuji discovers an enormous machine that uses stolen magic absorbed by the crystal orbs to produce dragon grace. The slimes explore the cave and emerge in messiahs, proving that all the villagers are Blue Moon cultists. Their leader, Javier, is furious Yuuji is destroying the forest, also damaged the machine. Working in secret, the slimes swallow all the cult's sacred texts and treasures. Yuuji decides to kill the cultists until Javier mentions the Cleansing Flame, a weapon that will destroy the area if the cultists die, including Ricardo Village. Yuuji decides to let them live, but all of the cultists commit suicide in order to activate the flame. Yuuji works quickly to recover the slimes, and by combining every magical barrier he knows, creates a new spell called Total Isolation Barrier, which prevents the flame from spreading beyond messiahs. The snow starts to melt and the Ricardo village celebrates Yuuji as the firewood hero and rewards him with chef's true finest meal since he now can have access to his herb field again. The techs are booby-trapped with a spell that turns them blank, except for a list of the cultist targets, which includes Yuuji. Elsewhere, two assassins with an identical list choose Yuuji as their next target. On the advice of the villagers, Yuuji heads for Boginia, a town famous for outfitting tamed monsters with armor. The assassins follow him to determine if he is a threat to the cult. Aware of their presence, Yuuji considers killing them, but worries this will draw the cult's attention. Instead, he decides to find a way to have his name removed from the assassins' list. Reaching Boginia, Yuuji puts on a convincing display that he is a penniless idiot and also a drunk. He also attempts to pretend to be an amateur monster tamer while battling several bull monsters, but his warrior instincts are too strong, and he accidentally ends up revealing his skills with a sword. The assassins are confused but eventually conclude he is a complete novice, with some natural sword skills, and leave to report to their employer who reveals to them about Messiah's destruction. The slimes overhear the assassins discussing their next target, Father Stale. Unwilling to let that happen, Yuuji has his slime set off an ice explosion, freezing the assassins solid. With the assassins dealt with Yuuji to be able to act normally again, and Boginia's best armorer, Gagel, for armor for his slimes. Gagel agrees but claims there is a problem with a monster at a nearby volcano. Gagel reveals to craft suitable armor, he must have a jewel from a blue lesser fire dragon. The volcano is a nest for lesser fire dragons, and blue lesser fire dragons are the rarest. Yuuji learns from the guild the only way to defend one would be to fatally cool their bodies with water from the closest available river, which is home to a giant monster, Piranha. On the way, Yuuji tames several red fire slimes who help him capture the piranha for a large bounty. He also defeats multiple dragons using water summoned by magic and collects their jewels. His slimes eventually locate a blue dragon, which is defeated by ice magic. Returning to the guild, Yuuji collects multiple quest rewards for killing 202 dragons, 2 blue dragons, and the piranha. With an abundance of jewels, Gagel crafts armor for the slimes and Proudwolf that vastly increase their speed, though he warns Yuuji his most powerful spells could damage or even destroy the armor if overused. The only way to craft stronger armor is with a jewel from a true flame dragon, which lives in the lava of the volcano and rarely comes to the surface. The remaining lesser dragons suddenly go mad from the same cultist spell that made 10,000 monsters attack Faston, and the flame dragon itself emerges from the volcano. The slime spot 2 men heading for the fire dragon carrying barrels. They mention they came from a town called Ordarian. They avoid Yuuji's trap, proving they are experienced, but they are captured regardless. To avoid interrogation, they commit suicide, proving they were with the cult. Dryad confirms the barrels contain cursed water, a weaker version of the cursed crystals, probably designed to enrage the flame dragon. It begins to rain, which enrages the fire dragon, who never emerges during the rainy season, in case the rain extinguishes its fire. Terrified, the villagers evacuate Boginia while Yuuji stays behind to confront it. The dragon is so hot its presence dries up a river. Yuuji uses ice magic to slow the dragon down while using a barrier to dam the river, releasing the collected water once it rises high enough and completely submerges the giant dragon. This only enrages it, and it attempts to destroy Boginia. Yuuji is forced to use his strongest ice spell and freeze the dragon solid, killing it. The slime collect the dropped flame jewel and also discover an object near the volcano. Yuuji gives the flame jewel to Gagel, who promises to craft armor never seen before. Yuuji discovers the object is an artificial rainmaker, meaning the cult made it rain to enrage the dragon on purpose. Yuuji reaches Ordarian and identifies cult members who refer to someone called Walter. Father Stale explains that in his youth he found the Blue Moon Church to honor dead adventurers. Walter joined the church and quickly became Stale's right-hand man. Soon after, Stale and his loyal followers murdered all other church members except Stale and established the cult with the goal of cleansing the world of all sin and corruption, meaning all of humanity. By divine revelation, Stale is convinced Yuuji is the divine emissary, and it is his destiny to defeat Walter. Though he does not tell Yuuji the whole truth about his revelation, Walter receives a divine revelation the emissary will be victorious if Stale is killed. Stale leaves Ordarian, so Yuuji has the slimes follow him to an underground cave where Walter resides with the rest of the cultists. Believing Yuuji is the emissary, Stale plans to let Walter kill him so Yuuji will be victorious. Stale is suddenly betrayed by his own servant, Johan, who has been in contact with Walter, who has known about Yuuji the entire time. Yuuji arrives just in time to save Stale. Walter places himself in a machine that infuses his body with dragon grace, mutating him into a dragon. Yuuji outfits Proud Wolf and a slime with their armor, allowing them to destroy part of Walter's body. Walter absorbs grace from his monsters, healing himself and growing larger, coordinating with his slimes. Yuuji traps Walter in nets and destroys his body. Before drying, Walter prays that the revelation will begin. Walter's machine activates upon Walter's death, absorbing his corpse, his monsters, and even Johan to summon a one-eyed man who calls himself Sage. Stale is forced to reveal the rest of the revelation to Yuuji that the death of a teacher shall cause the emissary to be victorious. He had assumed it would be his death that made Yuuji victorious, but it is clear it meant Walter's death would resurrect the original emissary that died centuries ago fighting the original Blue Dragon. Sage, using magic similar to Yuuji's, attempts to kill him and destroys the cave to escape into the sky. Despite a ferocious fight, Yuuji and his slimes are unable to defeat Sage. Sage begins the salvation of the world by activating multiple rainmaker machines powered by grace, creating rain clouds that rain grace over all the land, infecting monsters across the world. The monsters begin attacking nearby villages. Sage claims he will provide salvation by destroying the world. The slimes reveal that in every village he has visited, adventurers and citizens have risen up in defense of their homes, inspired by Yuuji. Stale receives a new revelation: when the sun and moon unite, divine judgment will be bestowed. Sage questions Yuuji about why he insists on defending the world, and Yuuji only responds that he liked the world the way it is. Yuuji concentrates his most powerful spell, Divine Judgment, into the dagger of Kethis, causing a light so bright that it temporarily eclipses the sun, just as in Stale's revelation. Sage is killed after being stabbed with a dagger. Despite the fact that the entire village is celebrating, Yuuji chooses to remain silent once more. Elsewhere, the remaining cult members dismiss Walter's death as insignificant, because they are working on a new machine, the Purifier, that will destroy the entire continent, and with it, their ultimate foe, the Black Dragon of Judgment. Eavesdropping through his slime, Yuuji is irritated that the cult hasn't given up. Yuuji learns from the local guild leader, Megia, after collecting another bounty in a new village, that defeating dragons and Sage has made him famous across the continent, making his desire to live in obscurity impossible. There the anime ends, and I'm seriously hoping for a second season.